I want to talk about hip mechanics. The goal of the first phase program is to create stability and mobility. It's not about overloading weak muscles and training dysfunctional patterns more so, it's about pulling you out of these patterns. So I want to show a few common exercises that you would come across in your first phase program to give a bit more nuance and understanding as to why you're doing these movements and not to just blase skim over the top of them. All right, so I'm going to go through 3 movements that you would come across in your first phase. And I want to show what people do, but what you should actually be doing. So if George does a glute bridge for me, just do a common one of what most people would do. So you'll see the feet are very narrow. His actually whole torso is bending and moving up in one direction here. So if I intervene now and just make some tweaks. So what we want to look at is I want the legs as wide as your hip bones, right? So imagine your hip bones, because now we're in sync. That means the glute is now going to be aligned to the hip. So we're not just going to be getting part of the glute, we're going to be getting the entire of the glute. Next thing, and this will be a whole nother thing to touch on, but we'll go through it now a little bit, is just diaphragmatic breathing. So he wants to draw in the air into his stomach, not into his chest. Now he's got that tight. Now what he's going to do from here is he's going to squeeze his glutes. So he's going to find the tension. Now what I try and explain to people when I'm coaching them is that you're now transporting this tension up and then back down. You can't let go of it. You have to carry it with you the entire way. So once he's got this brace, the glutes are on, he's now going to follow his hips slowly. And the thing that I always try and get him to do is think about the pelvis moving through the glute and moving through the quads, not lifting up the back. So it should just be the hip moving. As you can see now, the back is going to move a slight bit here because it's a bit tight through his QLs, but the movement has reduced massively. So we're thinking about the entire glute pressing that hip up. All right, the next one I want to go through is the plank. So George do a common plank that we'll usually see. This one always kills me. Back is completely sunk. Give me something here. There we go. Straight away, the first thing that people do is they're very narrow through the feet when they do it, and you can see there's a lot of rounding here. So if we imagine what we just did off the hip extension there, where we're getting that bracing, we're getting the hip to drive, we're now essentially doing the opposite of that. So what I'm going to get him to do here is widen his legs. Now I'm going to get you to press your glutes down, contract it like you just felt off that glute bridge. Pull your shoulder blades together for me. Make your arms parallel. Now, if I push him here, he's going to lock into his hip. He shouldn't be able to move. Now, if he loosens his hip, he's going to wobble. That's not stability. That's not doing anything. So what happens here, while he can suffer and hold this plank for me, is when we don't have that glute engagement or that diaphragmatic breathing or even just the core being braced in the right area, we're just making back tension and we're not doing anything. Okay? All right, and the last one we'll go through here is the clamshell. So give me a clamshell. Right, so this one is very, very easy to miss and very easy to make wrong. Because what we're looking at now is, before we're looking at extension of the hip and then stabilizing the hip alongside synergizing with the core, but now we're looking about that the glute rotating. So it's very easy here for the TFL muscle, which if you imagine it like a bolt on towards the hip, to just pinch and drag the hip out of position. But that means that the hip, we haven't taken that glute for the ride with us. The hip is going by itself. There is no glute control here. So what we need to do is we need to extend the back. So he's going to have an arch like this, little 90 degrees. And so he's going to bring up 90 degrees, on his legs here. Now what you're going to do is, you can't really brace your core that much here, but you do want to keep it at least relatively tight so that the QL here doesn't pull over, and same as that TFL pulling over. So now he's going to do that same principle we applied to the glute bridge. We're going to squeeze the glute first. Not yet. I'm going to bring that leg back down. We're going to squeeze the glute first. Now we're going to find that contraction, and we want to just keep that in the mind's eye. Now we're going to slowly bring it up. Now I try and keep my hand on the hip here. So if George puts his hand on his hip here, just so you can feel, press on that TFL for me right there. So it's a little right on the side, you'll feel a little tight muscle. And now you go up until when you feel that muscle start to turn. You tell me when you can feel it turning on and starting to get tight here. Yeah. About there. So what we now got to look for is to actually go a little lower. So that means his range of motion for now is here. So if we go there, that TFL is going to switch off, which it is. And now we're going to teach the glute to stay on here. The goal will just to be to hold this position, and as weeks progress, slowly, incrementally bring it up. As you can see, the leg is wobbling. That is showing that the muscle is trying to find stability. If we're doing this and it's not wobbling, especially when the glutes are weak, which they would be if it's prescribed to you, and it's not wobbling, that makes no sense. It means the tension is in a strong muscle already, okay? All right, this section is for shoulder blades and spine stability. So again, common movements you're going to come across in programming in your phase one will be a serratus anterior foam roll, which George will give us a quick demonstrate now. There'll also be a socket punch, and there will also be a two-part pull down. Okay, so I just want to go to the mechanics of this and why all these movements link and why it is so important to not gloss over these. So what he's doing here is he's actually getting his serratus anterior. So have you ever seen that gill-shaped muscle on guys when they're really lean? That muscle spins and it rotates, so it acts like this, okay? So yes, shoulder blades do pinch back like this, but that's only part of the battle. What we want to look to do here is if we start this in a nice neutral position, is we're first, before he goes up, we're going to look to see where trap position. So right now I can feel these traps a bit tight. So I'm going to get him to pinch back a little bit so that trap loosens, so now it's inactive. So now we're just using serratus anterior, just using that muscle I mentioned here. He's going to push up with a lot of tension against the wall, and he's going to not move his body, and he's going to press until that shoulder socket moves forward. So now that muscle is completely spun. The shoulder blade will look like this right now. Now as he comes down, it's going to be spinning back down into position here, and he's going to pull his elbow and he's going to depress his shoulder so that trap loosens. Okay, that's basically how this warm-up works. All right, so next one we're going to look at is serratus anterior socket punch, so linking off that previous movement. So what most people do when they view retraction or looking at retraction is mostly this. They're just going to keep their arm relatively kind of straight, and he's just going to try and pull back and forward, and it will feel like something's happening, but there's too many things actually happening here, right? So we're going to simplify it. What we're going to do is we're going to get his arm to go straight like this for me. He's going to extend through his elbow like that. Beautiful. Now, as he holds that position there, which will be a little bit hard, but that's okay, you can suffer for me, is we want to imagine this elbow turning down into that serratus anterior. So it will come tight. When we're here, this is going to be trap. When we're down here, this is serratus anterior. This is going to be so integral for the next movement that we'll look at, which will be the two-part pull down. So if we extend through here, now when he's got that lock in, so he's going to turn, we can see, boom, that trap already going loose. Now keeping your arm straight, he's just going to protract and retract. A little less, just to there, and back forward again. Good. Two more. Try and keep that arm straight for me. Now you'll see how his arm's bending. That does show a bit of instability. This is what most likely will come through. You want to fight to keep that arm as dead straight as possible and do a smaller movement. Very small. A little bit forward, but a little bit slower for me. Just we're looking for fine details. There we go. So now we can see here that's gone loose. The shoulder is in now the position that we need it to be. So that's perfect. So why that's important too, as I said, it was going to link to other movements, but when we're pressing, so rotating grip, we're doing bench press, whatever else we're going to be doing, this is so important. Without that being on from these two movements, none of these movements will work. Okay. So now we'll go into the lat pull down, just fleshing out from that serratus anterior. So this is my favorite. This is where we'll see most mistakes. If you go to a gym, this is what you'll usually see. Or you might even see someone really swing right back and turn into a back row. What we want to do here is we want to be wary of, one, where the sternum is. So we want to push this sternum in. Then we can brace the core. So now our spine, shoulder blades are nice and straight. Now what he wants to think about doing is actively not just sinking your shoulders down, but turning your biceps into your sockets so that serratus anterior turns on. Now, as he depresses down, you can see that trap there is super squishy. When the trap is squishy, the lat is active, and when the when the trap is on tight, the lat is inactive. They work vice versa there. So now he's really, really loose. He's going to pull through. And you'll see that he's going to pull into the top of the chest, but he's going to sink those shoulders down so we can see that these traps are super loose. Now, as he releases the bar here, he's going to fight his shoulders down whilst his lats are carrying the movement up, but the shoulders are staying loose. This serratus anterior here, you need to imagine it like a spider web or like glue. It has to be holding on to this bar and the shoulder socket the entire time. It cannot switch off. The moment it switches off, so if he just does a lazy rep now, we'll see the traps just go straight back to the position. They go straight to tight. We're not doing a lat pull down now, we're doing a trap pull down. All right? So serratus anterior needs to act like glue. All right, so the last one I'm gonna talk through now is the rotating grip. So we're gonna just think about everything that we just did for those warm-ups now in the main movements. Even though the pull down would be a main movement this would be paired with, it's still all links up, right? So what we're gonna do is when we go back into the bench here, we're gonna throw up the dumbbells with the knee, and we're going to start them placed around eye level, okay? Now, what people like to do is they like to go into arch and retract like this. This is a false retraction. You're not naturally doing it, you're forcing position. So I don't want any of that. I want the stomach and the spine to be pushed against the bench like this. And then you think about your first warm-up, the serratus anterior foam roll and the socket punch. You pull your shoulder blades deep like this, and I turn slightly into that serratus anterior, okay? Now, the first time you do this, it's not gonna look like this, and but it will form into this over time, as long as we have the mechanics in place. So once we're tight, we've got that serratus anterior acting like glue. What we wanna do now is start descending the movement, and we're pulling into the shoulder blades. We're not spinning forcefully, we're spinning as a byproduct. So once I get to here, I'm gonna be parallel around nipple height, right in the middle of the chest, keeping it tight into the serratus anterior, so you should feel your elbows fall into that same socket, that same feeling you feel off the warm-ups. And then you're keeping it like glue, like I mentioned on the lat pull down, where it's keeping tracking even as it's coming up. And then we lock back in again, and we repeat the movement like so. Your chest should loosen from this if everything's done correctly. All right, perfect. All right, to summarize all these movements that we've gone through today, the goal isn't to make them look perfect. They're not gonna look like this from the start. And the reason for that is because what we're working with here at the start is weak and unstable muscles. But if you follow the cues, you listen to the direction, and you look for the sensations that have been mentioned in this video, over time, these movements will start to look this way, and then they will start blending into your main movements. The main thing to do, and the main premise of this video, is to not skip over these warm-ups, not just numb your mind and just go through it like you're not thinking. Really lock in. They are the fuel to the flame for the entire session. So give them the same amount of attention and love you would if you were training your biceps. All right.